Alone my sorrow and dead in my sin, lost without hope with no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested, my life began. Ash was redeemed, only beauty remains, and my orphan heart was given a name. My mourning grew quiet and my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested, my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom he faithfully bore. He canceled my debt and he called me his friend. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Our Savior displayed on a criminal's cross. Darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. But then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Oh, we're free, free, forever we're free. Come join the song of all the redeemed. Yes, we're free, free, forever, amen. When death was arrested, my life began.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and I pray you are enjoying and rejoicing in the freedom that you have in Christ. We are free, free. Isn't that a precious idea? When death was arrested and my life began. Good morning, good morning, good morning, all of you on this rather cloudy Monday morning, but it is the beginning of the week and we are here together assembled. And we had a great, wonderful day yesterday. We want to welcome Tony and Megan into the family, into the fellowship. Great day. Next Sunday, we're going to baptize two folks. So I pray you will come on down and join us. Be a part of that great celebration Sunday morning. What a wonderful day God gave us. I pray all of you ladies had a great day for Mother's Day. It was everything that you had hoped it would be. and it just was God just blessed in wonderful, wonderful ways. Let's see, Miss Ruth, you were the first one up there this morning. I pray you're feeling a little better than you were the other day. But it's good to see you this morning, and every time we get to see you. There is Miss Helen. Miss Helen, good morning to you. And Cynthia's in there too with Dale and Ryan, so you guys got in there all together. And there's my sweet Miss Sherry. Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. It's so wonderful to be with you all. Yes, and Miss Alyssa, along with her three wonderful Kara and Cody kids. All right, good morning. We are excited for a new week. Thank you, ladies, for a great brunch Saturday. It was joyful. Well, it was a blessing to have you there. I tell you, it was neat to walk in and see you. So I'm glad you had a great time. It was really a neat event. The ladies had a great time. Miss Sue, good morning. I want to say thank you for all the wonderful Mother's Day, sir. Oh, you're so welcome, Miss Sue. God bless you. We love you. Miss Terry says, you're very welcome, Miss Alyssa. All right. And Terry says, I love that song. Yes, we sang it yesterday, and it was ringing in my head and my heart all day yesterday, so I figured I'd drag it out of my archive and I would play it for our opener this morning. Be in prayer for Miss Terry. I think it's tomorrow, is it not, that you're leaving to go down to Texas to see your twin grandsons graduate high school. So be in prayer for Terry, as she's going to be traveling for a week, and but she will be back, and we enjoy that. All right, let's jump in and refresh ourselves to where we were last week. Last week we really looked at chapter 8 all through the week, lapping over that first verse of chapter 9. Now, the final section of chapter 8 that we looked at on Thursday and Friday deals with injustice or delayed justice, and what our response ought to be to that. When we face either injustice in our life, or we see it in the lives of others around us, or we see that justice has been delayed, we need to first of all live in humble submission and faith. And I will get that up there and get that up and running. There you go. In simple submission and faith. Terry said, yes, and I am so excited. We're excited for you too. You let your twin grandsons know that we're praying for them, and we're excited that they're beginning a new phase of their life as high school graduates. All right. I graduated one time, and it made me a very smart person. Okay, so in this response of humble submission and faith, we have three facets. The first one, if you remember right, we looked at earlier in the week, is to walk by faith and not by sight. And the other two, well, the second one is you must let go of injustice and cling to joy. In other words, God is, instead of getting so focused that we allow injustice control everything in our life, what we need to do is we need to understand some things about, God is going to work everything out, and we need to look at what God has done and embrace the joy that we have in Him and live life to the fullest. Live it for Him, not in some dark prison of despair, because all around us there's injustice. Listen, people, we live in a sin cursed world. We are a sin cursed people. There is going to be injustice in this world. Justice will be met out fully and completely when Christ comes again and sets upon that throne and judges the wicked and the just alike, and the just will enter into their divine rest, and the wicked will be cast out from the very presence of God in that ugly, ugly place called hell. Now, the third facet of all of this is you've got to accept your inability to understand fully God's sovereignty. Certainly, we understand some things, but none of us will ever know the depths of the heart and the working of God. We just won't. We see injustice, we see bad things happening in people, and we focus in on that without understanding that God can even take that horrible situation and work it out for our good and for His glory. In verses 17 all the way to verse 9, it says, well, starting back in verse 16, it says, when I gave my heart to know wisdom and see the task which has been done in the earth, even though one should never sleep day or night. And I saw, he says, I saw every work of God, and I concluded that man cannot discover the work which is done, which has been done under the sun. Even though man should seek labor laboriously, he will not discover. And though the wise man should say, I know, he cannot discover. What he knows, he's going to find out that he doesn't know fully. In other words, in verse 9, or chapter 9, in verse 1, it says, for I have taken all this to my heart and explained it that righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hands of God. Man does not know whether it'll be love or hatred, or anything awaits him. So what he says is, do you not realize that all the days of man, a wise man, a foolish man, a rich man, whoever, a righteous man, a wicked man, all of them, their deeds, their lives are in the hands of God. The bottom line, perhaps for all of life, is that you and I are not God. And if we do not have the ability, we just don't have the ability to fully understand how God works. We know that God has the power to stop evil from happening, but we see, just the opposite. He apparently is allowing evil, of course he is, to continue at least for a season. That's the mystery that John writes about, the mystery of godliness. Who can understand the workings of God? We also have enough evidence to prove to us that even when injustice happens, He'll turn it around and produce good from it for those who love and trust Him, and also in the process bring glory to Himself. So, with that in mind, when we're confronted with injustice or even delayed justice, we should entrust it to the sovereign, supreme God. Let go and enjoy the good and gracious gifts that God has given. But like Solomon, who said, I have taken all this to my heart and explained it that righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hands of God. That's where we ought to be. Okay, Lord, I don't understand it, but I accept it as being in your hands, and I'm going to trust you with it, and I'm going to go on and serve you with joy, serve you with gladness, enjoy the things that you have provided while I am here. Now, after prayer, we're going to move into the body of chapter 9. Let's pray together. Father, I thank you that we have assembled together today, this incredibly wonderful, warm family, and all those new ones that have come in to listen and draw into your word. We thank you for them, Lord. And we thank you that you've given us these moments today to explore further into the heart of and mind of God through Solomon, the former king of Israel. As we look into Ecclesiastes, open our eyes and our understanding. Give us wisdom to grasp a hold of what you're saying, the skill to apply it to our life and live it out. Because, Lord, the more we live your word, the more we do your word, the more, Father, we come to an understanding of the goodness and the graciousness of God, even when things don't seem to be going well. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Now, take us into your word, Lord, and open it up like the opening of a flower to where we see the wonder and the beauty and the intricacy of what God has said. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let's move on. Let's proceed forward and look at verses 1, at least the second half of verse 1, all the way to verse 10, which I guess, for lack of a better name for it, I would call Solomon's Carpe Diem. And you know what that means? Literally, it's his admonition to seize the day. This is the day that we have. This is our day. We have no guarantee of even this afternoon, but certainly of tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So seize the day, grab a hold of it, uh, and the opportunities that God has given you. Let's take a look at His Word now as we move forward. Ecclesiastes 9, starting in verse 1, it says, "For I've taken all this to heart and explained it, that righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hands of God." Then he says this, and it doesn't seem to go along. It's kind of a side thing. Man does not know whether it will be love or hatred. Anything awaits him. It is the same for all. There is one fate for the righteous and for the wicked. In other words, whether you're righteous or wicked, there's one end to the story of life. Uh, so he says, man does not know whether it be love or hatred. It is the same for all. There's one fate for the one fate for the there's one fate for the righteous and for the wicked, for the good and for the clean and for the unclean, for the man who offers sacrifices and the one who does not offer sacrifices. As the good man is, so is the sinner. As the sinner is, uh, so is the one who is afraid to, as the swearer is, so is the one who is afraid to swear. This is evil in this is evil in all that is done under the sun. That is, there is one fate for all men. Furthermore, the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil, and insanity is in their hearts throughout their lives. Afterwards, they go to the dead. For whoever is joined with the living, there is hope. Surely a live dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything, nor have they any longer a reward, for their memory is forgotten. Indeed, their love, their hate, their zeal have already perished, and they will no longer have a share in what is done under the sun. Verse 7, he says, "Go then, eat your bread in happiness, drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has already approved your works. Let your clothes be white all the time. Let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with a woman who you have loved all of the days of your fleeting life, which He has given to you under the sun. For this is your reward in life and in your toil, in which you have labored under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For there is no activity or planning or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol, where you are going." I know you're going, "Oh my goodness." Because on the surface, this could seem a little fatalistic, don't you? Or even maudlin. But look at it more deeply. Really look at the text. You're going to find that it's not either maudlin or fatalistic. It is realistic, thought provoking, and I believe incredibly encouraging. There's a lot of people that give up on Ecclesiastes because when they just simply read through it and you really don't, study into it and look into it deeply, it does look to be one of the most pessimistic books in the Bible. But actually, it's one of the most optimistic. Certainly, death looms large in this passage. But so does the optimistic view of life we've been given to live under the sun. The New Testament counterpart to this passage, I think, at least, is in John 9. In John 9, you'll remember in that passage, as it opens up and it begins, Jesus and his disciples pass a man who was born blind, which prompted a theological question and a discussion by the disciples on the very realistic answer that they get from their master, from Jesus. Take a look at those. If you've got your Bibles, you go ahead and flip over there real quickly in John's Gospel, chapter 9. If you remember right, it's the man who was born blind. In verse 1, it starts out by saying, as they passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. Now, and his disciples asked him, here's the question that gets popped up. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind? You see, it was the custom of and the thought of the day that if you were born with some debilitating disease, or you got it, you got leprosy or struck blind or whatever, you're under a curse. And if you're born blind, it's either because of the sin of your mother, the sin of your father, or even some perceived sin that you'll come into the world to do. So he says, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he should be born blind? Jesus answered, it's neither that this man sinned nor his parents. What do you mean? Custom says, the theology of the day says, the prevalent thinking of the day is that his parents were either sin that caused this, or somehow in the womb or out of the womb he sinned significantly enough to cause his own blindness. That's the prevailing thought. What do you mean? Neither. Neither is this man sinned nor his parents. But it was so that the work of God might be displayed in him. This blindness is a God thing. He was born blind is a God thing because he was born blind that God might display his marvelous, incredible works through him. Verse 4, we must work the works of him who sent me, as long as it is day. Night is coming when no man will work. Now, that could mean either, God's going to return and there's no more work to be done because, if you haven't done it by then, it's not going to end. Or you and I are going to fall into the nighttime of death and work is going to cease. You see, we do the work of him who sent us while it's still day. Night's coming and no one can work. While I'm in this world, I am the light of the world. Jesus says we must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day, as long as we have breath, as long as we have life, as long as God is shining his light upon this world. Night's going to come when the darkness of death is going to overtake us, or the darkness of the world is going to be so great that God comes back and there's no more work after that. In other words, we got to make the most out of the life we have while we can. And this is what Solomon's telling us. We need to seize the day. We carpe diem. You and I need to seize the opportunities in front of us. Listen, the opportunities that each of you are going to have today and tomorrow and through the week, if the Lord tarry or nothing happens, those opportunities are only really going to come around once. The saying is that you could never stand in the same river twice. That didn't make a lot of sense to me when I was younger, but it is true because the water keeps flowing on, and I may step in the water with my fly pole, right now, get out and have lunch, and I step in, it's a whole different set of water. Oh, same river, yes. But you see, the water I was standing in before flowed on by. That was my opportunity then. When I come back and stand in the water, it's a brand new opportunity. So you and I have opportunities. You're going to have opportunity after opportunity today if you are aware that they are there. Most of us walk around with our head in a cloud or blinders on our eyes, and we don't see what God is doing around us. But we need to be like Jesus. We need to walk, as he went from village to village, hamlet to hamlet, town to town. He saw the people. He examined them. He knew what was in that. He saw them and recognized they were disheartened, dispirited, and depressed, like sheep without a shepherd. Do we really look at the world that we walk around in? Do we really see the opportunities that God has given us to work and enjoy those, incorporate those, embrace those in our own life? We must work the works of him who sent us, sent Jesus, as long as it's day. Night's coming when no man will work. Make the most out of your life. Seize the day. We have only these days under the sun to carry out our life's purpose, what God has put in us to do. So we must not delay. We must live out our lives to the fullest. We've got a lot of different ages of people represented in this study. I'm overwhelmed at how many young 20s and even into the teens listen to this. Pick it up when they get back home or when they get off work, or 30 something, 40, all the way up. We have people that are marvelous, wonderful senior citizens, and we have some marvelous younger people, well, like Cam, Kara, and Cody. And through the whole spectrum, we got people that live in all different parts of the country, even in different parts of the world, that tune into this. Don't ask me how that's happened. I don't know. I can't explain it. Because one, I know what my abilities are, and they're certainly limited. There's a lot more eloquent people out there, but for some reason, God has chosen to bless what we're doing right now and bring people of all ages and ethnicities and all different regions of the country to be a part, to join together for these things. I don't understand it. But you see, I know it's true. So I don't know how you tend to think about your life. I couldn't possibly. Maybe you think you've got a lot of time left, or maybe you're convinced that you've only got a little time. You see, the older we get, the less time we understand realistically we have. The younger we are, we think we've got whole lots of time in front of us. Truth of the matter is, our time is in God's hands. I tell everybody all the time, we all have an expiration date. I have no idea what that is, and I don't want to know, quite honestly. I'd rather go on doing the work that God has given me to do, and when it's time, just take me home. But I don't want to dwell on that particular moment. I think if I had the expiration date out in front of me, I don't know whether it would paralyze me or motivate me. Quite honest, I don't. Maybe the idea of death really scares you, or maybe you find yourself more and more longing to go home. I remember sitting with Asa not long before he passed away. He was 93. And he says, Mike, I'm ready to go home. He said, I'll tell you, Pastor. He says, I got more folk on the other side than I got on this side. And that was his outlook on life. I thought it was precious. It was wonderful. But I think if you rise in age, that oftentimes, for those who really know and love God, that's where we come to. Uh, like someone we just knew. Yeah. All right. So there you go. I know who you're thinking about, and that's right. And when I got the notification that she just went to sleep and went home, I was stunned. I was shocked. But she lived her life to the fullest. You couldn't, what a joyful lady she was. So you don't need to be reminded about the reality of death because you've lost a loved one. Dear brother went out yesterday and gave him a hug, and Mother's Day was hard for him because it was the first one without his mom. You know, these things tear at our heart. We understand them. We know them. We know the reality of it. Not a day goes by in which you don't think about that person and about being reunited with them in heaven. It just that's a part of our life. That's our existence. Whatever the case, all of us have this in common. We're still here. We're still in the game. So suit up, mount up, step up to the plate. We're still in the game. As long, I know some of you, look at me real funny when I say it. If you can suck air, God has a purpose for you. Every morning when I get up and I go, I know, as long as I can do that, God has a purpose for me. So get in the game, get suited up. So while we're still here, we need to live life to the fullest. But today's lesson has three main points for us. The first one is understand God's sovereignty. Now, I just said nobody can understand it. No, we can. But we can embrace it, accept it, and understand it to the level that we can, and know that we will never know everything there is about God's sovereignty. So Solomon gave himself an understanding of all this. And what did he conclude in the first part of verse 1? I've taken all this to heart and explained it that righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hands of God. All I've got to know about the sovereignty of God is my life is in his hands. By every moment, that God is superintendent over every moment of my life, that God is control, God sits upon the throne, God calls the shots. And if what is going on in this world seems ultimately wicked to me, I understand that God has a purpose even in that wickedness. Even it is to bring people to the end of themselves. Sometimes people have to really stare at wickedness to see the wickedness of their own heart. And God will use that. He'll use everything in this world for our good and His glory. The righteous, the wicked, and their works are in His hand. Now, the key question to this verse is what does it mean that that's in the hands of God? That's a phrase we throw around a lot. Put it in the hands of God. But what does it really mean? Well, in context, what Solomon means is that our circumstances are under God's control. That's the immediate context. And when I make fun of the way we say that, sometimes I think uh, we get these Christian cliches, if you will, Bible cliches. Ignore is my phone going upstairs on this morning, and so Sherry could get it because Miss Alice, our one of our little guys, is having surgery this morning, so that's them calling. All right, but at any rate, nothing serious, just being spayed. All right. At any rate, moving on. All right. Uh, when we say things like "I'll pray for you," we may be sincere, but that's kind of a Christian platitude. That we throw out to people. And how often do we say that and walk away not praying for that person later on because we simply forget? I've been very guilty of that. That's why I usually stop and pray for them right then. All right? Or, just trust God with it. Just put it in God's hands and walk on without really helping them understand sometimes what that means. So, it's a phrase we throw around a lot. But what does it really mean? Well, it means let God be in control. God has it in His hands. He's sovereign. He can take care of it. Let me illustrate. When David sinned by numbering the people and was given three options for judgment, what did he choose? Do you remember the story? It's in 2 Samuel chapter 24. Well, listen to these words. Then David said to Gad, I'm in great distress. Let us now fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercies are great. But do not let us fall in the hands of man, because man isn't merciful or gracious, but God is. In other words, to be in God's hands is to have God calling the shots as far as what's going to happen next. All right, God, I blew it. I understand that there's consequences of that. I put myself in your hands because I know you're a merciful God and you will do right. My circumstances, my life is in his hands. Now bring that understanding forward to the passage that we read. Solomon, who is David's son, recognizes that the righteous are always in the hands of God. He is always calling the shots in their life. Now, does he also call the shots for the wicked? The answer to that is a giant yes. God is absolutely sovereign. Nothing happens in this world that isn't first Father filtered, especially in the lives of those who are believers. But the focus here is on righteous people, and Solomon comforts them by saying, you are always in God's hands. Now, how does that affect us? Well, that brings us to the second part of that verse. In chapter 1, or in chapter 9, verse 1, the last part of that verse says, almost like an aside, man does not know whether it will be loved or whether it'll be loved or hated, anything awaits him. In other words, part of being in God's hand is anything could happen, and we just don't know. Good things can certainly happen in abundance for us, but also we know that bad things come our way as well. Hurtful things, unjust things come our way as well. And that's when we really have a struggle. That's where we come to the crisis of faith, isn't it? But I don't deserve this. I don't know how many times I've whined to God, but God, I don't deserve this. And God said, no, you deserve a lot worse. Because, if it weren't for his mercy and grace, I'd be separated from him. That'd be far worse. You know, even the bad. Remember, when Job went through what Job went through, it was God that threw Job in the mix. Satan's whining and complaining, and God says, what about my servant Job? He threw Job in the mix. The phrase, neither love or hatred, is a difficult one. The question being, whose love and hatred is Solomon talking about? Is this about God's love and hatred? Many commentators think it's that way, but I'm a bit uncomfortable with that, quite honestly, because it seems to suggest that righteous people can't know how God will ever feel toward them. So at this point, I prefer to say that the ones doing the loving and hating are other people. I don't know whether I'm going to be loved by that person or hated by that person. Now, isn't that a true statement? I know I will always be loved by God. Even when God chastens me, doesn't he chasten me out of love because he loves me? Like a parent ought to love a child? Certainly. We know that. God is love. And those who come to him abide in that love. So I never have to worry about God's reaction to me or God's actions toward me. They are always going to be loving, always going to be for my best interest. But I don't know when I'm in a relationship with somebody or I meet somebody or we just hook up, whether that's going to be, they're going to love me or they're going to hate me. That's an unknowable. And sometimes they will appear to love and only pass that as a way to hurt or harm. Many of you can understand exactly what I'm saying there. So the point is, I would prefer to say that the ones doing the loving and hating are other person. In other words, just because you're righteous doesn't mean that people are going to like you. I think everybody ought to love me, but you'd be surprised. There's at least one person out there that doesn't think too highly of me. And you know what that does? It hurts. It stings, certainly. But then I have a loving Father to fall back on when I've been slapped down by the hatred of others. So we've seen that being in God's hands means that anything can happen, but additionally, according to verse 2, it means that anything can happen to anyone, whether they're righteous or wicked. That's what verse 2 is all about. Listen, look at verse 2. It is the same for all. Everyone. Wicked, righteous, holy, unholy. Those who give sacrifices, those that don't. Those who swear and those who don't. That's what he goes on to say. All there is one fate for all. For the righteous and for the wicked. For the good and for the clean and for the unclean. For the man who offers sacrifices and the one who does not offer sacrifices. For the good, as good as the good man is, so the sinner, and as the swearer is, so is the one who is afraid to swear. Righteousness does not necessarily shield us from misfortune because God is in control and not we ourselves. Now, in verse 11, coming up down there, if you want to just glance at it, we'll get to it in fullness later, but Solomon's going to say to us here later, again, I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, and the battle is not to the warrior, and neither is the bread to the wise, or wealth to the discerning, nor favor to men of ability, for time and chance overtake them all. In other words, sometimes life appears to be just random. I didn't see that coming. I mean, I'm looking out here broad and wide. I didn't see that coming, blindsided me. That's really a scary thing. And it's a scary thought. if you're trusting in your 401k. It's really a scary thought if you're trusting in your physical health to remain so you can do a job, because we know how fleeting that can be. It's a scary thought if you're trusting in wishful thinking that there won't be an earthquake. But it's a comforting thought if you're trusting in the Lord. This verse reminds me of a dialogue. How many of you have read or even reading to your kids The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? We read those to our kids when they were little. It's wonderful. Love the movies that would put out, especially the latest ones, because they weren't really all that cheesy. They were just really good. It reminds me, though, of a dialogue that happens early in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. In this series, if you remember, there's this magical world, mystical world called Narnia. And in that world, there are a whole lot of characters. And it is here that we meet Aslan. Aslan, here is a picture, an allegory of Christ. And he comes in the form of a great lion. And it's an allegory, very much like Pilgrim's Progress was. It's C.S. Lewis's Pilgrim's Progress, if you will. When the character, Susan, the younger sister, finds out that Aslan is a lion, she asks Mr. Beaver, if you remember right, is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion. To which Mr. Beaver says, safe? Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe, but he is good. He's the king, I tell you. You see, modern man wants a God who is safe, who's tame like a domesticated animal, who comes and sits on your lap at the snap of a finger and rolls over when you tell him to, or sits up for a treat. That's what modern man wants in a God. They want a cosmic bellhop who's available to meet their every need and simply makes room service calls while they sit in the luxury of their homes. But that's not the God we serve. Not one little bit. So being in his hand can be somewhat frightening. We'll pick up on this note tomorrow morning and move forward, because it is frightening to be in the hands of an angry God. It is soothing and comforting to know that you are in the hands of a loving God. I don't want to get or be on God's side. They're on God, wrong side. That's why I really love the fact that God loves me supremely and always and constantly. I never have to doubt God's love for me, and neither do you. If you know him, if you've given heart and life to him, you know love even in the hardest of times. Father, I want to thank you. Thank you for your word. Thank you that we can open it up and begin to explore in the depths of what Solomon is saying to us. Let that, Lord, flood over us. Let us get caught up in the stream of your word, and let it carry us on that marvelous journey of walking with you. We love you, Lord. I thank you that our lives are in your hands. And I pray for any that are listening to this Bible study, Lord, today, that their life is not in your hands, that they need to surrender their heart to you. I pray, Lord, that they look beyond the problems in their life and see behind those problems is a loving God saying, come to me, and I will give you rest. Father, let them flee to the God of love, who loved them before the world began and wants nothing but the very best for them. And Lord, we come putting our day in your hands, knowing that it is. When we say putting it in your hands, Lord, we're acknowledging that it is already, because our life, our works, the things that we do, think, say, act, whatever, all are in the hands of a loving God. Bless us now, Lord, and give us eyes to see what is going on in the world around us and where you're working, that, Lord, we might join Thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I love you all very much, and I pray you have a spectacular day. And Terry, I don't expect I'll see you tomorrow, so one last time, have a wonderful trip. Enjoy your family. Give your grandchildren our love and tell them we're praying for them as well. It is good to be here with all of you this morning. Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for just the spectacular way God is working through you. Let Him continue. And may His wisdom and discernment be multiplied in your life today. And I'll see you back here at 9 tomorrow morning. God bless.